Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Real Talk with Coach Sherri. Thank you for tuning into my channel. As you can see today, it is raining. Oh my goodness, it is raining. I wasn't expecting all of this rain, but it is what it is. I wanted to do this video today because I was in interviews all day, 8 hours, interviewing candidates for our next apprenticeship class. And it really made me start to reflect and to think about the entire interview process and how many times, oftentimes, when people get the job or get the opportunity, they almost stop trying. I haven't really noticed that with my workforce development participants, but I definitely have seen it in people who are 100% gainfully employed. You may know what I mean. You know, they want the job so bad. They feel like they would do anything for it. They prepare for the interview. They go on the interview. They show up. They're at their best. They're answering the questions to the best of their abilities. And then once they get the job, they stop trying. It's almost like, well, I'm here now. They can't do anything with me. So, I don't have to do much. But in reality, every day is an interview. You should look at every day when you're doing something work-related as if you are on an interview. Even when you're in a relationship, a personal relationship. Not saying that you're on an interview, but you definitely want to show up and be your very best. And I say that because I remember when my husband played in the NFL, and his first 3 years, you may remember me telling you, he was more like a fan on the team. He, got drafted in the 4th round to the New York Giants right after they won the Super Bowl in 1991. And they were stacked. They had all kind of Pro Bowlers on their offense and defensive line. And he was an offensive lineman, and the person that he played behind, who was Jumbo Elliott, I mean, he was relatively young and was not going anywhere. And my husband really couldn't understand why the Giants drafted him. And, because they were so stacked, my husband practiced with them every day. But when it came to going away to games and things of that nature, he didn't really travel with the team much during his first 3 years in the league. And it was very discouraging for him. But he always tried to improve. He practiced as hard as he could. And even after practice, he would do things on his own, hire his own trainers, do things on his own, before going to bed, do a certain amount of pass sets, looking at videos, looking at other defenses, looking at other offensive linemen, just really studying the game. And this is after he had already been drafted. There are some players that once they get drafted, they feel like, oh, I made it to the big league. I don't have to do anything. And that's why only 1% of them stayed past that first year. And even less than that stayed long enough to become vested. So, it does require taking extra steps, doing that extra work, even once you're in, to stay in. And I'm not seeing that as much in the workforce either. I don't see a lot of people taking those extra steps, doing the necessary things to be their very best, to do their very best on the job. So I remember late at night, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, my husband would go out to Giant Stadium. His first condo that he purchased was in Secaucus, New Jersey, which is in the Meadowlands across the street from the Giant Stadium, which was very convenient. A lot of athletes lived in that complex, also rappers, singers, things of that nature, because it was really, really close to the Lincoln Tunnel. It still is really close to the Lincoln Tunnel. So, you would see a lot of different people, out and about at the grocery store. If you had a dog, walking the dog. I remember one time walking our boxer. We had a boxer puppy, and Aaron Hall, I don't know if you all recall, he sang with Guy, which was the name of the group, Teddy Riley's group. And he lived in the apartment complex next to us, and he was walking his dogs, and that's a whole nother video, a whole nother story. At any rate, so my husband would go out really late at night, early in the morning to run. And it used to make me nervous because, it's like, dude, who runs that late at night by yourself? Just where are you? So a few times I would go with him, and we would take our puppy, our boxer, so he could run. And my husband would always go to the parking lot at Giant Stadium. And this is the old Giant Stadium when it was a huge parking lot, the best parking lot for tailgates, but it was a huge parking lot. And at that time of night, there were no cars, nobody else out there. So for him, that was the best time to do his extra work. So I wouldn't, at first, the very first time, I just sat in the vehicle and just, kind of waited for him, or I walked our dog around. But then I started saying, you know what, I'm going to do something for myself too. So I started taking out my rollerblades, and while he was running and doing pass sets and, sprints and things like that, I would rollerblade around the parking lot, and our dog would just run randomly. I don't know. He would just be running around both of us. But, that was a commitment, definitely a commitment on my husband's part. I mean, we would be out there for a couple of hours every night, and it was exhausting. Luckily, it was like the spring of the year, I want to say. Sometimes he would do it late winter, right after the season, but mostly it would be in the spring of the year. So it wouldn't be freezing, but it wasn't hot either. It was perfect weather, actually. It was very peaceful and extremely quiet during that time, and he really would get into a zone. But he did all of that extra work, and after his 3rd year in the league, his 4th year through his 10th year, he was a starter, not for the Giants, but for other teams. And even when he was a starter, his work ethic never wavered. He still consistently practiced things on his own after hours, watched film, consulted with other trainers. If he knew he had a weakness, he worked really hard on that weakness. He'd buy equipment that, he may have used at the facility, at the, whatever team we were on, at their facility. He would find a machine, and he would purchase those machines for our home so that he could utilize it, whenever he wanted. And so that work ethic was really strong. And I don't see that often in people nowadays. But you guys, in order for us to be better, we can't just be one and done. You can't just get the job and say, whoo, I got it, I don't have to do anything else. No, you have to always look at your situation as if it is an interview. If you're going to speak in front of a group of people, look at that as an interview. You don't know who's in that audience. You don't know who's watching. Always look at those opportunities as if you are interviewing for your next position. Don't ever get comfortable where you are. There's always room to grow. No matter what age you are, it's all hands on deck. There is no limit. Look at the way people look now when at 50, 60, 70 years old compared to 20, 30 years ago. It is totally different. People are taking better care of themselves. They're living longer. Quality of life has improved. And so people have so much more to contribute because they have wisdom now that they're older or younger even. And they have a lot to contribute to the workforce. So you're not seeing as many people full out retire and absolutely do nothing. Even if you are retired, you probably are doing something. Do that to your best of abilities. You never know. That could be your next career. I always look at it. Things are never done. You are never done until you're done. Live life as long as you have it. Do your best each and every day. Be an example to those around you. If people around you look up to you and are seeing that you're slacking, guess what they're going to do? Follow in that footstep and be slackers too. And we cannot afford that in our workforce any longer. I see the eagerness in the people that we interviewed today. I see them really wanting the opportunity, wanting to get that shot. And I really wish I could record some of them, because if they are selected to be a participant, I want to know if that's truly who they are and if they're going to show up being eager, being willing to learn, being willing to work as hard as they can once they're in, because it doesn't stop. The interview process continues. It is a long process. It's a never ending process, because You just never know who's watching, and it might not be the person that's standing right in front of you. You know, all the hard work that my husband did when he wasn't playing on the team. I mean, he was part of the team, but literally it was like if they had a home game, he wouldn't dress. He would just be on the sidelines. And he was like, you know, I'm with people that I always looked up to, you know, like a LT, Jumbo Elliott, Carl Banks, just a lot of great players, Pepper Johnson. But he never really felt part of the team, and he really had to change his posture and his thought process around his situation. I told him, walk in that locker room as if you are a starter. So whatever position you want, walk and act as if it already is. If you know that to be the CEO, you are required to be more professional, more polished, to have your reports done. Have those done. Be more polished. Don't wait for the position. Be the position before it occurs. Live it, own it, and envision yourself being it all the time. Because it can happen, and you don't want it to happen and you be surprised. Like, ooh, now what do I do? You know what to do because you've been preparing for that moment. And even when you get it, prepare beyond. Continue to strive and thrive and do your very best. You know, like I said, once my husband did become a starter, he didn't just slack. He didn't stop. He kept doing his same routines, the same routines that got him into that starter's position. Because the people that gave him the opportunity to be a starter were people so far beyond our imaginations. You know, we ended up living in cities that I would have never in my wildest dreams thought we would live in. You know, LA, St. Louis, New Orleans, amazing experiences. But it was just like, wow, you just don't know where life is going to take you. But receive it, own it, and be ready for it. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That is really important. So everyone, I hope that you got a nugget from this message today. And if it's something that you needed to hear, please leave a comment below. Have you ever rollerbladed? And which do you prefer, rollerblading or roller skating? I love indoor roller skating, but rollerblading outdoors is my thing. At any rate, this has been Real Talk with Coach Sherri. And until next time, everyone, please stay safe.